Hey and welcome back to Main Irish Angling TV. Today I'm going to have a quick look at some gear that I bought from MIA. When you're fishing, doesn't matter whether you're bream, tench, carp, if you're sort of specimen angling and you need to get some feed out, even some of the match anglers have moved over to gear like this to put out a better bait. Sometimes we need to put a bit down to get the fish in, and one of the best ways is spomming or spodding. Now, spodding has been around for a long time, spomming not so much, but anybody kind of has moved over to spomming, mainly because spoms are much handier, much better at delivering the bait into the water. Now, the spom is slightly different in shape. It's a different mechanism on delivery, and before we get into it, I'm just going to look at the tackle I'm using to get out the feed, because it's not just normal standard gear. The first thing is I'm using a Daiwa Infinity Spod rod. Now, this is not cheap. Derek can get them in. You will have to do a special order on them. I wanted the very best spom rod or spod rod I could find that would launch a spod or a spom a long way. Now, in the right hands with the right technique, this rod can put a spod over 150 and closer to 200 yards, which is phenomenal casting. Now, most people can't realize that because they don't have the technique, but in the right hands it can be done. The rod is not rated. It's not like a test curve on it. It's based along the DF Basia blank, and it's a lot pokier. Now, this thing is a beast, and you really have to wind it up to realize any potential out of it. I'm using the Daiwa Emblem Spod reel. Now, this is retailing around the 165, 170 mark. I think you need to check it out with Derek. Not a cheap reel, but absolutely superb. Great line lay, great retrieve, much higher retrieve than normal reels. If it takes 100 cranks on one of my other reels to bring in the lead, it'll only take 50 or 60 on this. So it's much faster retrieve, and that helps you when you're spodding and spomming for a while. It can become a little bit laborious, especially if you've got a slow retrieve reel. So ultra fast retrieve, really well made reel. So that's the rod and the reel taken care of. On here I have 20-pound whiplash, and then you need to put on a leader. Now, the leader is a quarter arm cord leader. It's 50-pound break and strain. Now, what I would suggest is you don't make any rookie mistakes. You need at least I would say about 10 turns on the spool, and it must then, I'd also have it coming down to where the spod or the spom hits the reel. You need a good bit on it, reason being, when you're winding up the cast, you've got to allow for that little bit of a punch, and you don't want to be hitting the softer 20-pound braid too soon, because you could get a crack off. So that's the equipment, and then you have the spom here, which, as I said, is different to a spod. Spod has an open end top. You fill it up, you cast it out, and it turns upside down and drops all the bait out. Problem with the spod is it can release the bait in flight. It can all fall out the back unless you plug it up. The other thing is when it hits the water, the bait can be locked in, and you have to bang it a few times, so it can be a little bit hard. And then scooting it across the surface, because the way it's designed, it tends to cup the water and suck it back in and make bringing it back in a little bit harder as well. That's not to say they're not good. They have their place. Spoms, though, are really different. When you initially look at it, you say to yourself, that's going to be much slower, but it's actually a much faster system. Reason being is you've got a little red dot here, and that's the impact point. So when it hits the water, it actually flips open, and when it comes back in, it actually scoots across the surface quicker than anything else I've ever used. You fill it up with anything you want. It can be liquid, it can be like a sort of a very sloppy mix. You can put in maggots, hemp, nothing's going to come out. You're not going to lose any bait on the cast, and you're going to deliver it perfectly and accurately. One thing I would also recommend is if you're casting any amount, the first thing is, because you're using braid is seriously damaging to the finger if you hit it too hard. You can slice the top of your finger. I've done it, it's not pleasant. So what I would recommend, number one, is you tighten up your spool so it actually can't go anymore. You go as tight as you physically can go, and that stops any slippage. Now, listening to Terry Edmonds, one of the best casters in the world, Terry reckons you don't need finger stalls once you've tightened this up enough. Do you know what? I'll leave that to him. I'm not going to take the risk. My finger's too valuable to me. But as I said, tighten that up, number one. Second of all, you need a finger stall. This covers my index finger, which is holding my line. It's got a leather top piece so that you can actually get some sort of sensation. This is made by Gardner. I think these are sort of €6–7 in MIA. They're not expensive, but they're well worth having. Now, if you don't like the whole glove thing, the whole Michael Jackson thing isn't doing it for you, which is understandable. Some people like them, some people don't. There's another little gizmo by Corda. They brought out their own finger stall. This is retailing at €6.10. They do a small and a large. And to be honest with you, I'd only ever buy the large. Small, unless you're really tiny fingers. Even the large is quite hard to get on. But the great thing about these is, once they're on, they're made of neoprene. So again, they transmit all the feel, and they're quite snug. They sit nicely on the finger, and there you go. It's a little bit easier to manage your rod because you've only got this one here. Very, very easy to put in your tackle box, very handy, and it's a must-have. If you're casting out any distance, even if you're distance casting with your main rods, you should be using a finger stall. It just saves your finger from getting any frap or getting a line cut, which, I've seen some quite severe ones in my time. So a quick look at some bait delivery systems from MIA. The Daiwa Spon rod or Spod rod, you're looking around, retail price is over €400 for that one alone. So, unless you're really a dedicated angler who's going to get most out of it, I would stay clear. There's plenty of other models that Derek is doing in the store that are a fraction of the price and will serve you well. The reel, again, you can use any reel you want, but if you're going to get into the spodding a lot, I'd buy yourself a dedicated spod reel, and the Daiwa one is ticking all the boxes for me, I have to say. Nice piece of kit. Make sure you have decent braid, a good shock leader, good finger stall, and then your bait delivery system, and you're good to go. So we'll see you on the next video, lads.